let's talk about the WNBA Finals. So as you can see by the ticker, and if you guys were paying attention to what I said, the Liberty, they ended up winning the WNBA championship. Now, this was an incredibly close final game, and honestly, all of the games in the WNBA were really, like in the finals, were incredibly close. And this game was decided in overtime, where the Liberty ended up prevailing 67 to 62. The finals MVP for the WNBA was Jonquel Jones, the center for the Liberty. She ended the game with 17 points and 6 rebounds. A very, very dominant performance for an elimination. For an elimination game in the WNBA. And what are my thoughts on this game? So, I think that this game was one of the biggest chokes in the entire history of the Lynx. And the reason why I say this, I understand that the Liberty, they had home field advantage, so you weren't really expected to win as an away team, like if you're the Lynx. So it's like, you could end up winning, but, it's not really that expected. Usually the team with home field advantage ends up prevailing towards the end in elimination games. But again, obviously, that's not the case. And like I said before, in every single elimination game, when you go to an elimination game, the teams are evenly matched. And chances are, the team that has the best player on the court is going to win the game. Now, for the Liberty, the two players who are usually the best on the court, Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, were abysmal last night. They were absolutely atrocious. In fact, combined, they made a total of 5 shots. Combined. And in terms of shot attempts, they made 5, but then they end up taking, let's do some quick math right here. They end up taking 34 shots. So they went 5 for 34 in the elimination game. Brenna Stewart ended up going 4 for 15 by herself with 13 points. And Sabrina Ionescu went 1 for 19. I'm going to repeat that. 1 for 19 in an elimination game. That is absolutely atrocious. In fact, that is almost criminal. And the Liberty still end up winning in this game. Like, when your two best players are shooting like this, now is your time to pounce. That is your chance to take the series. That is your chance to steal the game and win it in the end. But the Lynx didn't end up doing that, unfortunately. And while Nafisa Collier ended up performing as dominantly as she's ever done in the postseason, 22 points and 7 rebounds, along with Kayla McBride, who ended the game with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, she didn't really get that much aid from her teammates, which was a big problem. Courtney Williams ended up going 2 for 14 in this elimination game, and Bridget Carlton ended up going 1 for 6 in this elimination game. So the real problem was the teammates. And even then, this game was still winnable in overtime. All you had to do was make a couple of important shots towards the very end, and you could have prevailed. The three-point shooting from the Lynx was also incredibly poor. They ended up shooting 15%, 3 for 19, but the Liberty ended up shooting worse, going 2 for 23 on 8%. 2 made three-pointers in an elimination game. That is absolutely abysmal. This was the best chance for the Lynx to come out and break this game open and win this game in the end, but they failed to do so. Now, you can make the argument that this wasn't really that big of a choke on the Lynx, as this was just better all-around team basketball played from the Liberty, as they had multiple players in double figures as opposed to the Lynx, who just had 2. That I understand. But still, this was an incredibly ugly WNBA Finals. This was this was incredibly ugly. Like, it was really bad to watch. Especially, like, it really seemed like every single time one of the teams threw up a three-pointer, it was just going to be brick after brick after brick. It was really bad. And a lot of people, of course, didn't end up watching this game. And I'll tell you why. This game happened yesterday when football was going on. And guess who was playing football at 8:20? The New York Jets. There aren't many New York fans that are going to tune into the Liberty game as opposed to tuning into the Jets game, regardless of how bad they are. Not to mention, the MLB postseason is also going on at around this time. There was a game yesterday between the Mets and the Dodgers, and these sort of games were going on at the same time as the WNBA. I'm sorry, but it's like New York is not going to look at the WNBA as opposed to looking at baseball or as opposed to looking at football. And I say New York because the Mets and the Jets ended up playing in this game. And the Liberty ended up playing in that night as well. So it's like there was a lot of things to tune into, but more often than not, people are going to tune in to those other two sports over the WNBA, regardless of it having its most popular season in recent memory. In fact, while we are on the topic of that, the WNBA is apparently going to lose money this season. They're going to lose around $43 million this season. And the NBA, the NBA executives that put money into the WNBA are growing impatient. And can you really blame them? This is the most popular season that the WNBA has had in its entire history. And it's still losing money. Why is this? Well, aside from the fact that Caitlin Clark wasn't in the playoffs, it all stems back to what I've been saying from the beginning. These WNBA playoffs cannot be going on when other sports teams are playing in their leagues. They cannot be happening. They have to go on at times when teams aren't playing until they can build that popularity, because asking the WNBA to compete with the NFL is a complete death sentence. The NBA couldn't compete with the NFL. What makes these executives think that the WNBA is going to be able to compete with the NFL? It does not make any sense. These games should have been held at completely different times, either earlier on in the day or some completely different day. If you really need it to be a primetime game, you can have it on completely different days. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are wide open most of the time. And if you're going to do it at a primetime, like primetime is usually at around, like, I want to say maybe 6:30 to around 9 o'clock. It's usually when primetime is for a lot of people who use television. You have to have those games set up early so that way it doesn't interfere with any of the later games. It just cannot happen. And this has been the problem from the jump. This was their most popular season, and the most important part of their season, the postseason, was swept completely under the rug. In fact, in an earlier meeting, like in a meeting that I literally just had a few minutes ago, one of the people, I'm not going to disclose his name, one of the people ended up saying that he didn't find out that the WNBA was going to have a 7-game final series until LeBron talked about it. That kind of advertisement is incredibly weak, and in a league that's trying to increase its popularity, that cannot happen. Like, the timing is of the essence when it comes to these sort of things. You have to do it at a time when either people aren't expecting it or when people don't have anything better to do at this point in their season and at this point in the WNBA's conflection. Because, again, they're just starting to gain traction. And in order to properly gain that traction, you have to bring out news and you have to bring out these kinds of information at a time when nothing else is going on. Because all of these other sports leagues, the MLB, the NFL, the NBA, they already have an established platform. The WNBA is slowly starting to build up to that, but they aren't there yet. And I don't think that they realized that when they scheduled these playoff games. Because again, this playoff series came down to the wire in almost every single game. And they still couldn't gain any viewership because there were other sports games going on and other sports fans that were going to tune into those sports games due to the already established fan base that the sports league has. It's something that just cannot happen with this WNBA, and I'm extremely disappointed at the scheduling of these games. Extremely disappointed. It was a huge missed opportunity, and I guarantee you that there's going to be so many planners that are going to end up losing their job because of this. I'm sorry to say this, but this was a terrible job with the postseason. An absolutely horrible job. But that's all that I really have to say about this first segment. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. So, excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and go into the second segment where I talk about NBA players who are most likely going to break a record in this season. Now, you guys will learn exactly like what I mean by that and exactly what I'll be talking about in this second segment, so be sure to stay tuned for that if you guys are interested.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign.
I wanna be the greatest. Everybody on the fake shit. I look around and feel like everybody is the fakest. I make this every day and I'm impatient, hoping one day I blow up from the basement. Statement, the top is so vacant. I don't hear shit that I think is amazing. Waiting for my day when I'm playing sold out shows for 1,000 faces. Hey, give me that crown, get in my way and to be put down. It ain't your place, all this my town. If I want that shit, then I'll get it right now. I'm losing it, the noose it fits, I'm losing shit. A stupid myth, you choose to live or choose to dip. You choose to fight or lose your grip and lose a gift. Oh,
I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the